History of Chinese cuisine. History of Chinese cuisine will give you a brief introduction of Chinese cuisine. History for your reference. Chinese cuisine is the general term of the dishes of various regions and ethnic groups in China. It has a long history with superb technology, rich categories and schools and unique style. It is the crystallization of the history of 1,000 years of Chinese cooking. Chinese cooking is an important part of Chinese culture, also known as Chinese food culture. Chinese cuisine is one of the three world cuisines: Chinese cuisine, French cuisine, and Turkish cuisine, and has a far-reaching impact of the East Asian region. The recipes come from various regions and ethnic dishes.
Chinese cuisine in Zhou Dynasty. According to historical records, over than 5,000 years ago, China already had grilled fish, and other foods. During Zhou Dynasty in China, food was mainly grains such as beans, millet, barley, and brown rice. So they were not the same as what we have today, cultivated in modern agriculture industry. It was in late Zhou Dynasty that people started to have white rice, grilled rice, and that was very rare and highly cost food for rich class. Similar to any other nations, salt was a crucial element in cooking and people's daily life. By then, salt was commonly used already. In Zhou Dynasty, there was a famous cuisine called Bazeng, 8 treasures, which was very influential for future generations.
Chinese cuisine in Qin Dynasty. In Qin Dynasty, sour flavor was welcomed by the people at that time. According to history records, bamboo leaves found from tombs. Plums were another cooking spicy by then. It was mainly used for removing fishy oil from meat or fish, concluded by scholars. Besides, cinnamon, green onions, soybean sauce, and vinegar had also used in the kitchen during Qin Dynasty.
Chinese cuisine in Han Dynasty. When it came to Han Dynasty, salty flavor was favored. Han was a period when Chinese cooking made a big step forward. Due to the opening of the Silk Road in Han Dynasty, merchants and economical exchange had brought many important eating and cooking materials for people at that time, such as the pepper, pomegranate, grapes, walnuts, sesame, watermelon, cucumber, spinach, carrots, fennel, celery, lettuce, onion, and garlic. This had laid a firm stone for the Chinese cuisine developments in later Tang and Song dynasties. During Han, West, South, and North dynasties, Chinese cuisine developed rapidly and appeared many famous cuisines. The Wuhu mackerel, created by Luhu of Han dynasty, was one of them. On the unearthed bamboo leaves from the number 1 tomb of Mawang Dorowen's, there were recorded over hundreds cuisines. In the Chu Niyang Su, written by Jai Sexi during the North Wei dynasty, there were over 200 kinds of cuisines recorded. Because of the introduction and influence of Buddhism and the promotion of Liyang Wodi of South dynasty, vegetarian dishes gradually had impact of people's daily life. During Su, Tang, and the 5 dynasties period, the design and colorful cuisines and diet dishes also had new development.
Chinese cuisine in Tang Dynasty. By the time of Tang Dynasty, Chinese cuisine had already developed to a quality level. People at that time often had many kinds of parties or banquets to enjoy their lives.
Chinese cuisine in Song Dynasty. Song Dynasty is one of the climaxes of the development of Chinese cuisine. In the restaurants of Bayang Jing and Lenan, there were numerous cold dishes, hot dishes, soups, and colored dishes. The dishes were remarked with south, north, chewang flavors and vegetarian dishes, which represented that the schools of cuisines began to form.
Chinese cuisine in Yuan Ming Qing dynasty. During Yuan Ming and Qing dynasty, Chinese cuisine has great development. Thousands of cuisines appeared. During this period, ethnic groups believing in Islamism moved to all the area of China, and halal food as a new kind of Chinese food occupied a position in China. Since Qing dynasty was an emperor ruled under the Manchu people. During this time, Manchu style and flavors have been added into the Chinese cuisine. And it was also during this period, Ming dynasty. Chili pepper plants have been imported into China as a fancy flower. I didn't take long before Chinese people discovered its great value in cooking process. The spicy flavor soon went popular in Hunan and Sichuan province at the time and left a profound effect to their cooking style since then. The schools of Chinese cuisine had formed. From late Qing dynasty, along with foreigners came to China. Chinese cuisine also introduced some characters of Western cuisines.
Chinese cuisine after the establishment of People's Republic of China. Since the establishment of People's Republic of China, especially since 1979, Chinese cuisine's inheritance and innovation obtained exciting results. Traditional cuisines of various regions and ethnic groups came back and appeared in the list of restaurants. Besides Beijing function dishes, Xi'an, Hangzhou, Kaifeng, Yangzhou, and other regions also invented Tang-style cuisine, Song Dynasty-style cuisine, Confucius cuisine, Honglo cuisine, and so on. Now, Chinese cuisine is very famous in the world for its color, aroma, flavor, and well-design. There are 4 or 8 major Chinese cuisines. The 4 Chinese cuisines are Lu cuisine and Chuan cuisine, Huaiyang cuisine, and Cantonese cuisines. As these schools of cuisines are formed naturally, could tell the differences of them by the materials, production, taste, and artistic styles of them.
In China, food and its preparation has been developed so highly that it has reached the status of an art form. Rich and poor, the Chinese people consider that delicious and nutritious food is a basic necessity. There's an old Chinese saying, food is the first necessity of the people. This art has been cultivated and refined over hundreds of years. Legend has it that the culture of Chinese cuisine originated in the 50th century BC during the Shang dynasty and was originally introduced by Yi Yin, its first prime minister.
The two dominant philosophies of Chinese culture both had extreme influences on the political and economic history of the country, but it is less well known that they also influenced the development of the culinary arts.
Confucius emphasized the artistic and social aspect of cookery and eating. The Chinese, together without involving food, it is considered to be a poor etiquette to invite friends to your home without providing appropriate food. Confucius established standards of cooking and table etiquette, most of which remain to this day. The most obvious example of this is the cutting of bite-sized pieces of meat and vegetables during the course of the food preparation in the kitchen, rather than using knife at the table, which is not considered to be a good manners. Confucius also encouraged the blending of ingredients and flavorings to become a cohesive dish, rather than tasting the individual components. Harmony was his priority. He believed and thought that without harmony of ingredients, there could be no taste. He also emphasized the importance of presentation and the use of color, texture, and decoration of dish. Most importantly, cooking became an art rather than a task to be enjoyed, and certainly he was instrumental in promulgating the philosophy of live to eat rather than eat to live. On the other hand, Tao encouraged research into the nourishment aspect of food and cookery. Rather than concentrating on the taste and appearance, Taoists were most interested in the life-giving properties of food. Centuries on, the Chinese have discovered the health-giving properties of all sorts of fruits, herbs, fungus, and plants. They have taught the world that the nutritional value of vegetable is destroyed by overcooking, particularly boiling. And in addition, have found that things with a great flavor also have medicinal value. Home-cooked Chinese of food extremely healthy, even though much of it is fried. This is due to the use of polyunsaturated oils, used only once and discarded. And the exclusion of animal fat is minimal because of portions of meat are small.